Hi everybody, it's me, Derpol. 1.17, the Caves and Cliffs Part 1, it's finally here. With it comes a whole bunch of new blocks, mobs, and features. Now today we're going to be looking mostly at blocks and items, where to find them, how to craft them. We're going to have a look at the mobs later, and even a couple of honorable mentions for features that you guys might have forgotten about, so stick around for that. And as we discuss these items today, we're going to be looking at its availability, how rare it is, to how farmable it is, and I will be running you guys through this whole list as we go along. So first up, we're going to be looking at something that's pretty obvious. It's kind of synonymous with the Caves and Cliffs update, as you see it in every thumbnail, and it's not that hard to find. The Amethyst Geode. Amethyst Geodes spawn underground, and they're kind of rare, but also not that rare. Alright, so you can see 1, 2, 3. There's another one over there, and we go over this side. You know, there's one more there, 2, 3, 4. So, not that rare, but yeah, still spread out, right? Amethyst Geodes come in many shapes and sizes, but its main structure is always the same. So, on the outer layer, you got smooth basalt. Beautiful texture, but there's an easier way to get this. You take the regular basalt and you put it into a furnace and smelt it, and boom, you got smooth basalt. Very cool. Then there's calcite. Calcite is a beautiful white texture, but this, getting it from the Amethyst Geode is the only way to get it. So use it sparingly. It is pretty rare in 1.17. Then there is the Amethyst block and the budding amethyst. Now the amethyst block can be broken and can be taken with you. It's an interesting texture. Not sure what we're going to do with it. But the budding amethyst, on the other hand, is one that cannot be moved. Think of it as a spawner, right? This can't be moved, not even with Soak Touch. Now, if you want to farm these beautiful crystals that you need for some of the crafting recipes, make sure to expose as many of the sides as possible, because these crystals grow. As you can see, this one just grew here. Very cool. On all of these sides. And if you break them with a pickaxe or a piston, you get 2 crystals. And if you use Fortune, you can get up to 4. So, yeah, that's how you get the crystals. And then you can use these crystals to craft either the spyglass, which is 2 copper ingots. We'll get to copper in a bit. And 1 crystal. And then the tinted glass, very useful block. 1 glass in the crafting table and 4 crystals around it, and boom, you got 2 tinted glass. That's that. So as far as the rarity goes for all of these blocks, amethyst blocks can be farmable. Actually, you can craft it using the crystals. Smooth basalt is farmable, as you can already farm regular basalt. And then calcite is just, it's way up here, because it's not farmable, and the only place you can find it is in the Amethyst Geodes. Next, we're going to talk about deep slate and the new ores, and also the tough block. So the reason why we're talking about these 3 blocks together is because you find all of them in pretty much the same place in the overworld, right? So at Y level 16, you will find large clusters of slate, as well as smaller clusters of tough, like you can see there. Also, the ores that try and generate where there's already slate will become the new slate ore variant of itself. I can show you guys here. So here's a cluster of gold that has tried to spawn in. Don't mind the zombie. And one of them was trying to spawn in where slate was, and now it's a slate gold ore block. So first of all, none of these are renewable. However, slate, like you guys could see before, is pretty abundant down low in the world. So that one, I would say, is going to be like medium tier. And then the tough is a lot smaller blobs. So I actually put that one up all the way at the top, because it's a little harder to get, right? So first you have regular slate. Now regular slate is actually directional. So as you can see, this texture is facing this way, and then the top texture is even different than that. So that's actually quite a few variants of blocks. If you're building walls, you're going to have 3 different sides that you can work with. That's if you mine it with a Soak Touch pickaxe. However, if you mine it regularly, you get cobbled deep slate. This is the one that you're actually going to use to make all the other variants, right? So you would use cobbled to craft polished. You'd use polished to craft bricks. You'd use bricks to craft the tiles. You can smelt the bricks into cracked bricks and the tiles into cracked tiles. However, if you don't want to use the crafting table, you can also just use the stone cutter, and that's going to give you all the variants that you need. So that's a much better use to get all of these different ones. And then the ores, you can only find these ores if you're looking to use them as decorative blocks if they have spawned in a spot where they're supposed to be deep slate, which means that the ores are also going to be pretty rare to find. So speaking of ores, some of the new things that got added are the raw ore items and the raw ore blocks. Now, if you use a silk touch on the gold and the iron and the copper, you will still get the blocks like you used to, especially, well, at least with the iron and the gold. If you use fortune, you can actually improve your drops and get the raw versions of each of these items, which can then be crafted into these blocks using the 9x9 pattern in the crafting table. It's like a storage block. I'm not sure how we would use any of these anyway in a build, but you know, they're useful for storage, so that's cool. They can be broken down back into their items, and then these can be smelted into ingots when you want them to. Now, seeing as the raw ore blocks come from raw ore, which you need to get from ore blocks, they're not exactly renewable. But with fortune, they're also not really very rare. So I would put them in the middle section. You're gonna have quite a few of these. Then moving smoothly on to copper, you can use 9 copper ingots in a 3x3 formation in the crafting table to craft the regular copper block, which you can then use in a stone cutter to get all the cut variants. Over time, they will oxidize, so this will be the first stage, second stage, and third stage, and there's no way to speed it up, so you're just gonna have to wait around. And when it gets to a stage that you want to keep it at, you can use honeycomb to wax them and keep them in the state that you want them to be. Right? If you at any point want to remove some of the oxidation, you can use an axe to scrape that off by right-clicking on it with the axe. You can also use lightning to remove oxidation, which is why it's also important to wax your final stage oxidized copper to prevent it from being struck by lightning and turning back into one of these. Right? So that is important to remember. The lightning rod is crafted with 3 copper ingots in the crafting table, and drowns now drop copper ingots instead of gold ingots, which kind of makes it renewable. But for anyone who's ever had a drown farm, you know that that's gonna be pretty hard to come by because they do not drop a lot, not even with looting. So your best bet's probably still going to be to mine and fortunate. So for that reason, I have put it kind of in between the farmable and the kind of limited area, because it is farmable technically, but it's also kind of rare, so we're gonna leave it here, you know? Next up, let's discuss dripstone. Okay, I finally found some dripstone in a cave, and by saying that, I'm telling you guys that this one is not all that common in the world, but it does generate naturally. So you can find them in caves like this, and all you really need is 2 of the dripstone shards and you are good to go. There's also another method of getting dripstone, and that is from trades. So if you're lucky to find a wandering trader with a dripstone trade, you could get 2 pointed dripstone, that's the spiky bits, for 1 emerald, finally making him just a little bit useful. Or you can get the blocks from a journeyman mason that you've unlocked in 117, not before, and he will sell you the blocks. But if you have 1 block and 1 pointed dripstone, and you put a water source above it in this formation, you can start farming this, which is going to be slow at first. The pointed dripstone will keep growing down, and the more you have, if you eventually have like a whole big room full of it, then it'll get a little bit faster, and then you can use the pointed dripstone to craft the dripstone block. As an honorable mention, you can also farm water into cauldrons using this method with the dripstone. Not sure why you would be farming water, but okay. And you can also farm lava, which on the other hand is very handy, and very happy that lava is now renewable. So it's going to be a little hard to find dripstone at first, but once you get going, you're going to have exponential growth the more and more you farm of this. And for that reason, I'm putting it down here in the farmables list. No other caveats, just it is renewable. Next up, let's have a quick chat about powdered snow. Your best bet for finding powdered snow is going to be to try and farm it. And the only way you can farm it is in areas where it snows, and you put down some cauldrons and you just wait. That's it. You just wait. And once these things start filling up with snow, hopefully that's going to happen sometime on camera. I even got the speed up 10 times. Let's see if this happens at any point on camera. Okay, finally it actually filled up a layer. Now, if this isn't full to the top, then you're not actually going to be able to take it out. So it needs to be actually fully full like that, and then you'd be able to take it out and have a bucket of powdered snow. So powdered snow is actually quite an interesting block. First of all, dispensers can actually put it down and pick it up if there's a bucket inside, and you can use it and take freeze damage. You will eventually start shivering. You'll see the screen changes over to the little frosty, and there I go, shivering. Right? It does damage to you and other mobs, except for strays, polar bears, and rabbits. And it makes you go real slow when you're freezing. You can use it to turn skeletons into strays, and use it to do more damage to blazes and magma creams. Leather armor will protect you and also horses from freezing, and you can use it to descend and ascend at your own will. Because it is technically renewable, however, as you saw, not very easily obtainable, I've kind of put it in the middle again because, yeah, you know, you get the picture by now. So next we're going to start talking about the vegetation that's been added, and I will tell you guys right now, none of these spawn naturally in the world. So starting with the moss block, one of the ways that you can get it is through the Wandering Trader. The other one would be through shipwrecks. And if I just come down here, it'll be in the front chest of any full ship. So if the ship is missing its front, then you're likely not going to get moss blocks. It'll be in this chest, and you can find it there. So it might be a bit tricky to get, but once you get your hands on one moss block, you're pretty much set to go, right? So here are all the blocks that the moss block can take over, and if you bone meal it, it'll turn all of them into moss blocks. And then, like you can see here, you get the carpet, and you can also get the azalea bush and the flowering azalea, right? Which you can also put down on the ground. And now you can put both of these into flower pots, and don't they just look adorable? If you then take bone meal and actually bone meal either the flowering azalea bush or the regular one, you will get an azalea tree. Underneath that, you will get one rooted dirt. So that's kind of renewable, but at the same time, that's going to be a pain to get, right? The wood is Mojang. The wood's not pink. Just saying. Right? If you take away all of the wood, you will then cause the leaves to start decaying as a regular tree. These leaves, as they decay, will still drop the azalea bushes, just like saplings. And you can also, you know, harvest these with shears or a silk touch hoe and get the leaves. So you got quite an abundance of azalea once you have the one moss block. When you have the rooted dirt, you can also till it to get the, where did it go? The rooted item, right? Hanging roots. There we go. So that's kind of renewable. An easier way of doing that, however, would be to just bone meal the underside of a rooted dirt, and then using shears in survival to then get it. So you can renew this one pretty easy. And the best part about the moss block is that it's actually an alternative to vines in making mossy cobblestone and mossy bricks. So no more needing to farm loads and loads of vines. You can now do that with moss blocks. So with one moss block and a butt ton of bone meal, you can pretty much renew moss carpets, and everything azalea at your heart's content. However, with the hanging root item, you can renew that by bone mealing the rooted dirt. But the rooted dirt itself, which is actually quite a handy block to have, another variation of dirt, is not that easy to come by. It is farmable, but still not very easy to come by. Next up, we have the small drip leaf plant. This one, sad to say, as beautiful as it is, can only be gotten through the Wandering Trader. Once you have one of these items, you have to use a shear to be able to pick it up, otherwise you will destroy it. And if you bone meal it, it will turn into the big drip leaf. And then once you bone meal this thing, you can grow it to whatever size. And if you break it at any point, it will drop all of the pieces. So that's renewable, very easy. That is super rare. And for that reason, we have the large drip leaf plant over here, down by the farmables, but we have the small drip leaf plant way up high, even past the rare stuff, because this is probably the most rare item in the entirety of Minecraft right now. Next up, we're going to be talking cave vines and glow lichen. Now, where glow lichen is pretty abundant in caves, and you can pretty much find it anywhere, and once you have one, you'd be able to renew it anyway. The cave vines, on the other hand, don't generate naturally, so the only place you can find them is in minecart chests. So like I said, once you got one glow lichen, you can then proceed to bone meal it or automate this process so that you can grow more. It'll grow to the 4 adjacent tiles, but not any further than that. You would have to then bone meal a different one to get it to spread more. The same with the vines. You could bone meal it and get the berries, or you could just wait for it to grow more, and you can also wait for it to grow the berries, and that's how you renew that. And with that said, both of these are in the green for renewable. Next up, we have candles, and yes, ladies and gentlemen, candles are back in the game. So there are 17 variants, 16 for all the Minecraft colors, and then the one undyed one. They also now have different textures for when they are lit. Don't mind the fact that I have reduced particles. So yeah, they just have a slight glow at the top. They're pretty easy to craft. All you need is one honeycomb and one string, and then you can also craft one regular undyed candle with a dye into the dyed version. So that's pretty sweet. So considering honeycomb and string are two very easily farmable items, we have the candles down here in the renewables, and that's just obvious. Let's have a quick little look at mobs, and here we have the goat. Look everyone, it is a goat. They spawn in mountain biomes, and as far as I can tell, that means only regular mountain biomes, not snowy mountains, not any taiga mountain, nothing like that, just regular mountains, right? At the moment, they have no drops, but it has been confirmed that the goat horn will be coming to Java at some point, even though we don't know what that does yet. They're cute buggers, and they will ram you eventually, and they also attack other animals. So yeah, have fun with the goat. Next up, we got this cute little guy, the axolotl. He spawns in caves, and even deep oceans, as long as the light level is 0 and the source block for the water is no more than 5 blocks above natural stone. So that'll be your andesites, diorites, granites, stone, tuff, and deep slate. Now, where did he go? Aha, there you are. So don't forget, you can catch them in a bucket, and once you do, they become persistent, and when you put them back down, they become your friend, and they will follow you around. Only if you're in survival, though, and I would drown if I tried that right now. Then, hi, there is the glow squid. Same spawning mechanics as the axolotl, and also, yeah, unfortunately, the axolotl's gonna kill this guy. But once it does, I can show you guys that the glow squid drops glow ink sacks. Now, glow ink sacks are fantastic because you use them to craft glow item frames. You take one glow ink sack and one item frame, put it together in a crafting table, and boom, you got this beauty. and you can see everything at night. It's fantastic. Even more importantly, it works with map art. So, you know, neon signs for Valheim City, you know, Cyberpunk. Put in the glow lichen, make it look even better. Yeah, I like that. But not only can you use it for glow item frames, you can also use the glow ink sac to illuminate your signage, right? So you got a regular sign like that. Then you got a dyed sign that looks like this. And then if you right click, it turns into this majestic neon looking thing that is just, it makes me so happy. All right, so considering that the spawning mechanics for the squid is reproducible, means we can build farms for the squid. So that's going to be in the farmable section here. Although, if I had to measure it up to a regular squid farm, I would hazard a guess to say that it won't be as efficient, but it's still renewable. And now for the items that are only available through give command. 2 of them didn't make it into the update, unfortunately, and 1 was always meant to be a give command, right? So the light block is fantastic because now you can put light sources where you want in creative. It's great for map makers, and if you're not holding the block, then eventually those things will disappear. There we go. Okay, so yeah, then you can just use it like this. It's kind of like the barrier block. And yeah, that's actually a really cool addition. Then the bundle, I've made my thoughts clear on the bundle. Let's not get into it. And finally, the Spore Blossom. The Spore Blossom, it just, you know, it didn't make the cut, and I'm not sure why. So you can only get this one through give command as well. All right, at this point, it's time to move on to the honorable mentions. And a bed, you say? What? Bed's not new, but a new game rule is the game rule player's sleeping percentage. You can set it to 100% if you want everyone on your server to sleep before a night passes. 50% if you want half of the people, 0 if you want just one person to be able to sleep the night away. Then there's rails, and again, Derpol, rails aren't new, but you know what is new is the ability to waterlog them, and even the minecart can still move through it, even though just a little bit slower. And I didn't mean to get in that, but okay. So yeah, that's a pretty cool new feature. And it's going to be pretty useful in Redstone because it means all your things aren't just going to get washed away. And next on the list of Derpol those on new features, the Shulker Box. Shulkers now have the opportunity to duplicate themselves when they get hit by a Shulker projectile. So let me just show you guys. So here I've just made a quick little mechanism to try and show off how this mechanic works. So there's an snow golem at the back there that the shulker can see, and it's going to try and start to shoot at it. It's going to end up hitting itself, and because there's no other shulker boxes around, shulkers around, it has a higher percentage chance of duplicating itself. And there you saw it. This is not a perfect system, but that definitely worked. So yeah, maybe we even get to see another one. Oh, no, they just killed the snowman. Oh well. And so for that reason, the shulker box is now also on the farmables list, and that makes me happy. And then the final feature I want to cover today is a small but could easily be overlooked kind of one, right? So usually you'd be able to make path blocks with grass, but you'd have to wait for it to grow before you could do it with any of the other ones, but no longer. No. Now you can just do grass path blocks with any of those. So coarse dirt, puzzle, it's all pathable now. And that's it for today, folks. I would love to hear your feedback on this episode, and if I've missed anything, I'm probably sure I have, because this update is actually quite feature-rich, and it's quite likely that I might have missed something. So let me know down in the comments, and if you found any of this useful, please do leave me a like so more people can see this, because I do think that there's a greater part of the community that really needs more of this knowledge. And as always, I will see you guys in the next one. Have a fantastic day, and see ya!